You come to accept that I am the right person, but it's not always easy, and that's okay.
Is it? Is it? Is it?
Welcome back to the Harley and Malarkey Podcast, Old Dog New Tricks. People ask me, what is your podcast about? And usually I say it's about relationships. And I would say that it's not necessarily like it's about a random subject that we choose each week. But I think the foundation of it is our relationship and our chemistry and our different ideas about the world.
I love you.
I love you too. Why are you saying?
Because that's what it's really about. It's that we have great communications. This is what we actually enjoy sitting here, talking with each other, sharing thoughts, ideas, crazy things, fun stories. But when you ask me to come in here, I'm never mad.
No.
I mean, you keep your clothes on, which is kind of like boring, but this is part of our relationship that I really enjoy is our ability to communicate. Because typically old dogs aren't very good at communication.
No. And I really know no other way. Like, I don't really know how to not communicate. Like, I think something I actually need to work on is to my timing, need to address before that I communicate sometimes at the wrong time. Like, something upsets me, I have to communicate it, which I think is different than a lot of people. But taking a step back, I thought that we could talk a bit about our relationship and what makes it good, maybe some trials and tribulations we've been through. We'll see where it takes us. But you came into this relationship coming out of a 20-year marriage, and I came into this relationship coming out of an 8-year relationship. I lived with my ex toward the end. And so we both seen relationships that didn't last forever. That doesn't mean that they were a failure, but I think it's different to fall in love a second time around. You see yourself more clearly. You see other things more clearly. How do you think the second time around has changed what you think about love or what you think it means to be in a relationship?
Well, obviously, I'm concerned that we're both on a rebound relationship. I think you just described a rebound perfectly. Both coming off long-term relationships, and we fell madly in love. We did, but it wasn't all, and it's not always, roses and butterflies and unicorns and stuff like that. We obviously had a very hot, impassioned beginning to our relationship. Both of us wounded, I would say.
Yeah.
Super happy we found somebody that was really into us and we were really into, and the party was on. I think we have, what is it, AD and a BC? We call that,
like chapters?
Yes.
We chapter one.
We have the hot mess chapter.
Right, the fun chapter.
The fun chapter. I was still drinking heavily. We were traveling. We did all kinds of fun things. Mistakes were made. Hearts were broken. We took a period of time off, and I chose you over alcohol, and I chose clarity. And now we have our much more stable second chapter.
Yeah.
Probably not the last chapter. I hope not.
I think all relationships are constantly evolving if they last.
And we're in a really good place. And this is at the point where I'm actually like, I thought quitting alcohol solved all problems, but it just lets you deal with your problem in a different way.
Yeah, I think that's a good summary. And I think something that I've observed about you is that our relationship was so amazing and magical at the beginning, as most new relationships are. I mean, ours is special because it's ours, and I think it is better than anybody else's because it's ours. It's a little Donald Trump of me, but
don't ever little Donald Trump, all right?
But no, I think that something that I've observed about you is that I think that your relationship before me was a little bit more chaotic and volatile, and there was a lot of conflict. And so then I think you kind of had this assumption getting into a relationship with me. Like, of course, the first few months, like, there's no arguing. There's nothing to be pissed off at each other about. You're just so high on being madly in love that there isn't the reality of life to really deal with in the same way. And so I think the first time that like the reality of life started coming in and like I would get upset about something or we had something to deal with, I think that was a little bit of a shell shock for you, being like, but I thought this was it. Like I kind of thought I found the right person now and everything was going to be easy. And I think over our time together, you come to accept that I am the right person, but it's not always easy. And that's okay.
Is it? Is it? Is it? I love Easy Street. You know what I'm saying? I do just want to turn a blind eye on the harder things in life and just focus on the positive things. Like I said, if the ship was sinking,
yeah, I would say, oh, fuck, we're sinking. What should we do?
And I'd be like, no, it's all fine. It's good. Let's end on a smile. You know what I'm saying? I am learning to deal with conflict resolution. And I did really good last night, too. Did really good last night. But sometimes when you're in your mode and I'm in my mode, those conflicts don't resolve easily. And I can go to my very, very dark place where I get frustrated and I'm willing to burn down the house to get away from conflict.
Yeah. And it's scary. And I think that like something that I've noticed in our relationship, and I think there's a variety of reasons why I feel this way, but we don't fight very often. But the few like kind of intense conflicts that we've had feel so intense to me. Like it feels like life or death in the moment in a way. And I think that's probably both of our wounded inner children coming out to play. And I think I probably sense your burn the house down and I'm like, oh, fuck, how do I put out this fire kind of thing? So I'm hoping we both get better at those things.
Yeah, I don't run away from problems in business. I don't run away from problems with my kids, but sometimes I have gotten frustrated and I'm like going, fuck it to our relationship. And that's very, very scary because you mean so very, very much to me. And it's just, again, that inner, I hate this term, inner wounded child, but you're like, I can't believe you yelled at me. And I'm like, that's not young. Like, if you'd known my previous relationship, if you know my parents' relationship.
Okay, we can let go of the whole yelling thing. And it's just, yeah, you don't yell that often.
I don't yell.
No, I don't really care if you raise your voice either. Sometimes I'll raise my voice at you to get you to fucking listen to me. It's more, the only thing that's hurtful is if you say things that you don't necessarily mean in the heat of the moment. And I try to be really good about that. Like, even if I'm so fucking mad at you, I'm usually pretty good at not saying what I want to say in the moment.
I'm like a caged animal in Tourette's.
So be just like us, then you'll be happy. No, but I think what makes it work is that in spite of your burn the house down moments and my fearful moments, we're both committed to each other. We're both committed to this relationship because we know and believe that we have something special that is worth putting in the work for. Do you feel that way?
You know, I look at my friends, different age brackets, and I look at their relationships and I see them, and we're 3 years into it. Yeah. The honeymoon phase is certainly long gone, but I don't feel it is.
Yeah.
And, you know, I always want to hold your hand. I always want to cuddle you. I always want to kiss you. I always want to make love to you. And I know how fortunate that is because I don't see, I'm terribly sorry to say this, I don't see anybody else as warm and passionate and affectionate to each other. And you can discard the first year, or that's what you're supposed to do in your first year of relationship. But the fact that we're 3 years into it and we've had some ups and downs and trials and tribulations and my children and intensities and blah, blah, blah. But the fact that I joke about this, and this is a joke and she might get mad. 3 weeks out of the month, we are golden. Golden, I tell you. The best ever. I just need to learn how to lean in and be patient and understanding during that cycle of the moon.
Yes. I think in general, that's it. And I do love that. I think that like that is something that I'm so grateful that we have. It's just like that it, 3 years isn't forever, but I think that it's a long time. We've been through a lot of crazy shit in our 3 years and it feels like longer. And it is still just like you're my boyfriend and my honey. And I wanted
your best friend,
my best friend. And it's really nice to feel super passionate about somebody with that length of time and like the the safety and the passion and all those things. Like it makes the other shit that's hard sometimes worth it. And I think that that's like an important part of the relationship is like knowing your why. Like, why are you going to go through the difficult times? And I think we both know why.
And we're going against the odds. You know, again, I'm in my 50s. You're in your early 30s. I'm in my early 50s. And it's not supposed to work. You know, it's supposed to, you know, when you see these in other cases, it's a convenience, it's a money attraction, it's what it is. But we have this authentic love that is certainly worth fighting for and getting through those things. And if I could just figure out how to hold you, again, I do have the old male problems of not listening, but trying to solve problems.
I think you also have a problem.
Dump it on me. Let's go.
I think you also have a defensive problem. And I think it's probably an inner child wound that like maybe people for some reason blame things on you, or I don't know what it is, but it's like, I will express that I'm hurt or that I'm upset. And most of the time, like sometimes it's about Brian. I would say maybe half the time he hurt my feelings. The other time it's not. It's about something else that we're dealing with. But he immediately, when he hears me upset, it's like his brain kind of shuts off and he just like feels like I'm attacking him and that it's his fault and that he has to defend against whatever I've said. When the easiest way to diffuse the situation when you have a woman who's emotional is to comfort her, to listen to her, to say, I'm so sorry you feel this way. Or like if you hurt her feelings, to apologize and say, can I give you a hug? Can I hold you? And I think so many times, like my, month where I'm a little bit more emotional and needy, if you could not feel like you're being attacked and just feel like, oh, this is my opportunity to lean in, to make Danielle feel safe, we wouldn't have any blow-ups.
This is what I'm trying to learn. That's why it's called old dog, new tricks, okay? Because I was raised by cowboys. I have that manly, don't cry, that don't be soft, that don't be passionate. It's kind of the generation that I came from. And it's very hard for me to do that lean in. And I do feel attacked. And I know I need to look into myself and figure out why, because I do, more than anything, want to have the best 4 weeks a month, or the most 30 days a month or whatever. I don't like that stress. We put stress on ourselves through businesses and family dynamics and stuff like that. I want to have our love and relationship be strong, highs and lows. And I need to learn, and this is demasculating to me, I need to learn to apologize and slow down and not solve problems or deflect problems, but just listen.
Yes. Well, that's so nice.
And then can I do it? And that's another question. Like, that was fun. Like, I said the right things. Now I need to put them into action.
Yeah. And, Rome wasn't built in a day. I think that's what they say.
Okay.
I'm patient. I'm fucking patient. If I wasn't patient,
you'd be gone?
I don't know. I don't think I'd be gone.
You'd be Scorpio ass out of here? Is that what you're saying to me?
No, I think I see all the good in you. And I do think of our relationship.
I think I see all the good in you.
I know I see all the good in you. I was trying to explain kind of where I'm coming from in that. No, but I do think of our relationship sometimes. And like if somebody else was telling me some of the things that we've gone through, like I think our relationship and the way that you've changed to really be committed to this relationship is the exception, but not the rule. Like if I met somebody and they're like, oh yeah, I'm dating this guy. He blacks out a couple nights a week. He gets really drunk. Oh, he DM'd a bunch of girls and kind of betrayed my trust in our relationship. I'd be like, fuck that guy. Don't give him a second chance. But that is what happened in the beginning of our relationship. And I felt like I had...
So Adam Levine of me.
Whether it's, my trauma or my inner knowing, I just was like, I know I'm not done with this relationship. I know that there's more for me to learn here. I know it's not something I'm ready to let go of. Like, it just feels so like something that I'm supposed to be in right now. And like, I've kind of worked through these things with you. And I think I've tried to, not that I'm like better than you are. I think we were both wounded in our own different ways, but we've like worked through a lot of things together and grown a lot together, which I think there's a balance in that. What made me stick around is that you continue to grow. You continue to get better in everything that you were doing. You committed to not drinking, and you stuck to that. You committed to, being somebody that I could trust, and you showed over and over again why you were trustworthy. The conflict is something that's always been a little challenging for us, because I'm like, I'm willing to talk about it and dig in, and you're like, fuck this. But you've fought against your defenses, and you'll sit there and you'll talk through things with me no matter how uncomfortable it is. So I think that's like,
I mean, last night I was textbook. I don't even remember what the conflict was, but we settled it in like 2 seconds.
Yeah, because you just were like, I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry.
And I didn't believe you at first, but
I wasn't believable at first. I was just plug and play in that one. I was just like, I'm just going to try this, I was in a good mood and lighthearted, and I was like, let me just see if the tools that she's trying to give me work. And then I could tell the bullshit detector was on. So I was like, well, I better get in touch with these emotions. I better mean this, because you can't just say it. So all you dudes out there, gentlemen out there, you actually have to be authentic when you're saying these things. I tested the waters. And
that is true. I appreciate that. Well, I think it would be fun to get into the story of how we met. But I think before that, what do you think makes our relationship strong? Or
pheromones.
Yeah.
It's seriously the basic thing of just that cosmic energy. I love the smell of you. I love the look of you. Taste of you. I feel so great when you're in my presence. Conversation is something that you love, and at times I'm like, and it's just hard. I'd rather just sweep stuff on the carpet, being the old dog. But you know what? The fact that I have a lot of energy, and I annoy a lot of people, and I exhaust a lot of people, and you are always there and ready to go and have, I wear you out from time to time. And I think we're learning that in our relationship too, going, I don't have to go all the time. Like, he's at work, he's doing this, he's doing this, he's doing this. Sometimes you're like, dude, I'm just going to sit down. I have to stop saying dude. I wonder if when I say dude, I'm not really saying it to you.
You're not saying it to me. It's just part of your vocab.
Okay. That's a really bad Southern California thing. But you rise to the occasion, you're present, and you're delightful.
That's really nice. I do think the energetic thing is really big. Like, I think that, just a tip out there, we met, I wasn't on any sort of hormonal birth control. Apparently, when you're on hormonal birth control, you're attracted to more beta males who will protect you while you're pregnant. I don't know exactly what it is.
I don't understand what you're saying. Are you saying you would have gone for a muscle man had you been...
No, beta is like not alpha.
Oh.
I don't know. I do know that when you're on birth control, the men that you're attracted to, like, they've done all these studies of like smelling the sweat of like man's t-shirts on birth control and not on birth control, and you're attracted to a totally different kind of person when you're on the pill. So, before you lock yourself in with somebody, make sure you're not on the pill. The initial chemistry and attraction that we had was really strong. And I think one of the things that we did with that is like, this is amazing. We didn't quite have this in our last relationships. We want to preserve this. And I think that you and I both make an effort to keep our love and passion alive. Like, we make an effort to, have sex as often as we possibly can.
A lot.
And, you're not always in the mood,
You're not?
I mean,
I am. I'm always in the mood.
No, I usually, but sometimes it's just like, I know that I'm going to feel really good, connected to Brian, connected to our relationship. This is a good decision to make. Like, what else am I going to do? Watch Sex in the City,
It's so present. It's so present.
And I think, us you being willing to have conversations with me, my desire to leave nothing unaddressed, I think is really important. I think it's how we don't let resentment build. And I think resentment's something that gets in the way of people having like passion and a connection.
What's your advice to people who've been married for or together in a relationship for 5 plus, 10 plus years? Do you see there's a way if the spark has faded, is there a way to reignite it in your eyes?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that, the basis of a good sexual connection is having emotional intimacy.
100% what you just said there. That's what it is, because I talk to a lot of people and I think one of the things missing from relationships is sex.
Yeah.
And you can't just turn it on and then turn it off, right? If you've been in a relationship, this is hypothetical because we're not living this right now, but a lot of people really slow down their sex drive. And I think it's because of distraction, stress, and I think a lot of it has to do with physical fitness. If you're not feeling good in your own skin, if you don't feel like taking your shirt off, if you don't feel like, getting naked with your loved one, then you need to start there. It's not an immediate fix, but you have to exercise, eat healthy, and really get back into your body. I think relationships are broken when people let themselves go. And then you don't have that fire, because I tell you right now, if you are having sex with somebody, you're connecting with them.
Yeah.
For the most part, right? So by loving myself and loving that body and loving your partner's body, that brings you together. And the more sex you can have brings you closer together. And I'm not talking pound sex. I'm talking about making love sex.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think that it's less about like just the physical body and the act. It's more about the act of like taking care of yourself overall. And I think that people who, have really low self-esteem, like your body is one of the first things to go. Temple. Yeah, it is respecting your body as a temple, like knowing your energetic boundaries, knowing your, emotional boundaries, knowing how to take care of your physical body, like all of those things. If you've kind of completely neglected yourself, like how can you expect somebody else to prioritize you? And so, yeah, I think feeling good in your physical body is really important. I think that, as I said, like if you don't have emotional intimacy, like sexual intimacy is going to be really forced. And so for somebody who's been together for a really long time, like, is there resentment that's built up? Are there things that have been left unsaid? Like, are you happy with your partner overall and it's just the sex that's missing? Or are there other things that need to be addressed? And I kind of think the connection itself should be addressed before you can expect sex to come back in. And then I think sex sometimes is just like familiarity, like routine, and you get kind of tired of doing the same shit. And so you have to bring novelty and accept.
Are you bored with our sex life?
No,
I'm just kidding.
Well, people that have been together for a while.
And there's ways to do that too. That's a whole other podcast to excite the sex life. But I think that's great. I think you have to take care of yourself and be happy with yourself before you can accept or give love.
Yeah. And I think for the sex thing specifically, like if you don't know how to experience self-pleasure, like if you've never had
another podcast
you can't expect somebody else to satisfy you too. So I think a lot of times like women get tired of having sex with their husbands because it was something they did for a long time to please their husbands. They weren't getting anything out of it themselves. And it feels like a chore. It feels like something they're giving rather than a mutual exchange of energy and pleasure. And so you have to kind of take back your pleasure and embody your pleasure to be able to enjoy sex.
And I am going to say this, if you are in a relationship and it is just absolutely broken, you have to make changes.
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, oh, this is the card I've been dealt. This is what I'm going to do. And I lived in a really bad relationship for a very long time. And I tell myself it's because I wanted my children to be a little bit older so they could understand what was going on. And when I was able to remove myself from that really bad situation and see life again for the first time, it was like getting candy for the first time. It was exciting. It was fun. And it's refreshing. And sometimes in life, you have to make those super, super hard choices that affect not just you and the other person, but maybe children or whoever else involved. But you have to do it if you know that you are just drowning in it. If it's too broken to fix, then you're going to have to make life-altering changes. And it's not fun, it's not easy, but let me tell you, it is worth it, because how many lives you get, Harley D?
We're not sure, but in this physical body, one.
One in this physical body. And I've come out the other side, and I'm more in love than I've ever been. I gave up on love. I didn't think love was worthy of anything. I didn't think it was real. I have horrible examples of parents getting divorced and bad relationships. And I look amongst my mentors, my friends, my neighbors, anybody, and I try to find great relationships. They are so few and far between and so rare. But the fact that I am in one, I have seen it, smelt it, tasted it, touched it, gives me hope for everybody out there. So make a choice, make yourself better, and find the love of your life.
Oh, I love that. I think that's very sweet. And I also think that...
You can drop the mic on that.
No, I know you want to drop the mic, but I gave me a lot of things that I wanted to say, which one, that they've done multiple studies and it shows like the quality of your relationships is the biggest predictor of the quality of your life. And so if your primary relationship, the person that you have to go home to every single day is somebody that makes you miserable, it's pretty fucking hard to have a good life. And I think that, you know, the best thing that you can show your children is advocating for your own happiness. And I think also like being able to, I am grateful that we are so in love and affectionate in an appropriate way, but your kids can see that we love each other, that we're on the same team. Like we cuddle on the couch, we kiss, we support each other, we don't tear each other down. And I didn't see that growing up. Like my dad, you know, I don't know. Everybody's dynamic is different, but I remember, you know, I didn't think that my parents loved each other. I saw kind of the manipulation, the control. None of my friends' parents seem to love each other. And it's really rare to witness what true love is like and that that's possible. And so if you have an opportunity to show your kids what real love is versus what self-sacrifice and misery is, like that's what you should do.
And I do notice something, not just with kids involved in the relationships, is I see people in their late 20s, early 30s that are just like, the clock is ticking.
Yeah.
The clock is ticking. I'm going to marry the next person I have a relationship with. And that's devastating also, right? It's better to go against the grain, find the right person, because if you don't find the right person and you're kind of just like checking boxes, oh, it's time to get married, it's time to have kids, check, 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 you're going to wind up, you know, divorced, miserable, angry, upset down the line. And you're going to subject your partner, your future children into this relationship. So I know everyone's like, I want to get married, I want to have kids, I should do it by this, society tells me this, but you're better off not having children, not getting married, men, women. You're better off waiting to find the love of your life. The universe, life will give you that connection when you are ready for it, when you are healthy, when you are open, when you manifest and you get to that place. So don't shortchange yourself because you're going to get the problems in the future. Would you rather be happy and healthy and in love than have broken family, miserable, upset children and stuff like that? So don't rush into something because you think society is telling you to check the box.
Yeah, no, I think that reminds me of a point that I was going to make, which is like you found real love at age 49. Like I'm sure you've experienced love at other times in your life, but to the best relationship, as you've said, that you've had took you until you were 49. Like I think that should inspire hope in people that like it's never too late.
Because I was what I just described. I was checking boxes.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm in a relationship right now. Everything seems great. It's good. It's not great. I don't just like, I'm not absorbed by this person. That true love is available and you can find it. I wasn't right at the time either. I was drinking way back in the day. I was working too hard. I was doing those things. I wasn't in the position to find the right love. but the box needed to be checked.
Yeah. And I also think, we make the right decisions for ourselves, and like, you wouldn't go back and change anything. Like, you have 3 beautiful children that required you to go through those things, and you've learned lessons through that. But, being by your side through all this stuff and seeing it, I'm like, it makes me pause. Like, you can divorce somebody, but you can't get rid of like the mother of your children, the father of your children. And that's the most serious decision you can make, is who you have children with. And they're going to be in your life forever once you have a child. So that should be somebody that, if things get dark, like you fight well with them, like you can disagree well with them, because that is going to happen. And it is harder to be a woman than a man at that stage in your life, because if you have a desire to have children, like as a woman, that ability does expire, at some point. Whereas a man, like fucking Mick Jagger, is still impregnating women.
Robert De Niro.
Yeah.
Let's go.
But honestly, you would be better off getting a sperm donor and doing it on your own, and then finding the right person. Like, if you're at the point where you just haven't found the person you want to have kids with, don't just grab the next Tom, Dick, and Harry and do it with him. One more thing that I want to say, which I think kind of goes throughout all of this, is like, I think one of the most important things that you can do in a relationship is take radical responsibility for yourself and for your experience. And I think this was something that I kind of learned, or was reminded of again in our most recent conflict, of like, if you guys are constantly in conflict and you're blaming your partner for that, you're like, well, if they did this and they did this, we wouldn't be fighting. It's like, well, this is a two-way street. What are you contributing to this dynamic that's causing that to happen? And I was kind of in this mode of blaming Brian for all the things that I thought that he could do better, which, yes, I think those things are all valid and true. But then I was not looking at myself.
What did you say?
I wasn't looking at myself and how I was contributing to the dynamic. And I was like, because of what I perceived as things that he should change, like I was feeling unsafe, and that put me into feeling controlling and trying to make things happen that was forcing things in a way, and that was putting him on the defensive. And so when I was able to take radical responsibility for my role in the dynamic, he was able to shift, and was able to shift out of his defensiveness, and we were able to come back together. And I think even going back to like being in a miserable marriage, like if you're in a miserable marriage, that's nobody's fault but your own. Like, you can't blame your partner. You can only take control of yourself. You can say, okay, I'm going to do what I can to shift the dynamic from my side. I'm going to see how we can work on this together, or I'm going to get out of it. Like, you're not a victim. Nobody's a victim. Like, you get to take responsibility for yourself and the types of relationships you have.
But what if you marry a narcissist? Kind of a victim. Last piece of advice on this one, and from me, I can't speak for you. I did hear something, and we practiced this, is if you are in conflict, don't go eye to eye, nose to nose in the conflict. Go for a walk. If you go for a walk, you're walking side by side, and your thoughts will come out better. You won't be so defensive, and it defuses you. And a breath of fresh air always makes things more manageable.
Yeah, I agree. And I think there is a thing that I kind of keep in the back of my head, like, is it better to be right or to be happy? And this isn't to like sweep issues under the rug, but like I notice with Brian sometimes, and I can be the same way. Like I'm a strong person, and I have like this logical lawyer mindset, and I can kind of give Brian the 10 ways that what he said is wrong and why I'm right. And he could do that with me. And a lot of times he does try to do that with me. But at the end of the day, it's like, okay, what's going to make us both feel better? Do we have to lay out every single thing that we disagree with? Like, no, you don't. Like, let's focus on resolving the conflict at hand, being happy without having to be the one who's right. Like, just being able to both understand each other's perspectives, not having to win.
Yeah, we'll sweep it under the carpet.
Exactly. You're not here in full circle. Follow us on iTunes or Spotify or YouTube. Leave us a rating and review. We love it. Send us any questions.
Yeah, I dare you to.